Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Spotlight. I am so happy to see you here today. I am your host, Gail Nicholson, all around miracle making queen, resilience coach, and of course, host of The Spotlight and co host of Three Crones in the Woo Woo. Today, I have with me a welcome back guest. I love it when my guests come back for another visit with me. Sylvia Plester-Silk is an intuitive counselor who integrates traditional therapy with the Akashic records. So she actually digs into everything in many dimensions about you. So she does this energy work to help individuals transform to having a life that's fully on purpose. And I want you to help me welcome her now to the spotlight. Hey, how you doing, Sylvia?
Hi, Gail. I'm great, and it's great to be back.
Thanks so much for joining us again. This is very, very exciting. I love your haircut, by the way. You just got it cut. It looks great. How do you like it?
I'm still getting used to it. I feel like my face has just grown inside.
So maybe there's some reality to my mother always saying, "Oh, you got your ears lowered."
Definitely.
Right?
So,
Well, fantastic. Let me kind of check in with you. Where are you guys at up in Guelph, Ontario right now with the whole coronavirus opening up, locking down, masks, no masks. I mean, over here in the US, it's an insane patchwork of nobody knows the rules anymore. How's it for you guys up there in the Great White North?
so, in Guelph, in the city that I live in, we're in red zone, which is pretty close to lockdown. We can go out, we can shop. The stay-at-home order has been lifted, thank goodness. Um, we're in Guelph. We seem to be the center where we started to do the vaccines. And so those seem to be coming rapidly. Last week we had one location. This week we have 4 locations where they're doing vaccines. So they're really ramping up and getting the systems going with the hope that we'll be vaccinated by June, July, August. Who knows what the reality will be in terms of supply and demand and all those great things. So we'll see what happens. And hopefully the vaccine is the answer. But I see us being a masked society for a long time coming.
Oh, gosh. Excuse me. Well,
And Gail, frankly, the masks are okay in the wintertime when it's really cold and blustery. It's like a
yes,
bonus.
that
But when
is
it comes
true.
summer, I'm not sure I'm going to be feeling the same way.
I 100% agree with you. I'm thinking forward to a couple months from now when it's like 115 Fahrenheit, which is like what, 40-ish for you Canadian in Celsius rather. But yeah, just the sweat marks and the acne that shows up when you're sweating under those masks. I hope we don't have to deal with that again this year. White people problems, I guess. Forgive me. But at least we're not drinking dirty water and dying of dysentery. The
Absolutely.
mask protocols are annoying to say the least, but they are really not a big hoop to have to jump through. So yeah,
Exactly. Bit of discomfort to stay alive. Woohoo!
yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's phenomenal, and I am going to be I am looking forward so much to when the border opens up and we're able to pop back and forth between the US and Canada without a 14-day wait.
Mhm.
Because I was up in Michigan last week. I was telling you before we went live. I was up in Michigan last week and I felt so bad that I couldn't go see my son. I mean, he was 10 miles away from me and I couldn't go see him and give him a hug. So, yeah, that's my end game. When I can go hug my family in Canada again, that's thank you, you know? So,
Yeah.
let's talk about what you've got going on because you've got some really good stuff coming up for I guess I want to call them codependents, right? Tell me a little bit about what you're working on.
Okay, so I'm going to just take that word codependence and throw the label out. Because
Okay.
when we're talking about codependency, Gail, we're just talking about a group of behaviors that people have fallen into been trained to have, where they place the needs of other people ahead of their own.
Yeah.
And it just wears them out and causes things like, depression, feeling exhausted,
Right.
resentment sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like you give all your spoons away and nobody's ever giving you spoons back.
Yeah.
to
Because it's
borrow an
not
analogy.
okay. It's not okay when you're a heavy duty caretaker to ask for help because somebody will want something from you, right?
Yeah.
At least that's the mindset.
Yep. I that is so true. I remember myself. Hold on one second. I remember myself going, I can do that, but I don't want to do that because they'll expect me to do that forever now. And I don't want to do that forever. I could do it now, but I don't want to do it forever, so I don't do it at all.
Yeah.
Or I do, and then I resent being caught in that trap of, oh, now you got to do it forever.
Exactly.
So how can you shift that for people?
Well, let me talk to you a little bit, if I can just take a step back and talk about some recent realizations since I've been back in my practice. What I'm noticing is that people that are engaged in these kind of people-pleasing behaviors have abandoned themselves. And oftentimes, since they were like 2, 3, 4 years old. So, for example, one of my clients followed her older brother out of the house one day when she was about 2 or 3, ended up being taken by a stranger to the police station. It was a small town, so it was safe. And her parents were called, and her mother made such a ruckus that in that moment, she decided she was responsible to keep mom happy.
Okay.
And so in that moment, as a 2-year-old, certainly you're not capable of having the cognitive thoughts of, oh, geez, I've got to keep mom happy. It was just a really compulsive behavior pattern that started because if I'm not a good girl, then mommy won't be happy and then I'm not safe.
Yeah.
And so it's that kind of thing that can happen just by chance. And then you learn the way I've got to sort of be scanning my periphery and make sure that I've got everybody happy and everybody's okay. Or inside I start to feel anxious, uncomfortable, worried, afraid, and all of this kind of traumatic response starts to happen. And so what do I do to get rid of that? The only thing I know how to do in that patterning is to look after them and guess their needs and give them what they need. Meanwhile, I'm not even in the picture anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense, especially with the example that you gave about, it's not even I need to make mommy happy. It's that I want to avoid mommy ever showing up like that again. So how can I do that, right? And that's where you get into that guessing and scanning the periphery of what could be happening out there that might make this other person upset, which is what I want to avoid. So I've got to come in there and manage and manipulate and fix things so that I never see my mommy's face look like that again.
Or anyone else's.
Yeah. Yeah. That's some deep and powerful stuff. But I'm sure with your credentials as a clinical social worker and all of that, you've got a number of skills to help bring people up out of that state of being, correct?
Absolutely. So there's certainly like the behavior level that you can do on your own. And that stuff like starting to ask, like you had said a few minutes ago, Gail, do I really want to do this? And just stop and give yourself a choice. And if that feels too big in terms of somebody making a request of you and do you want to do it, start with something lower order like, what do I want for dinner tonight? Do I want to have carrots or do I want to have peas? Because no one's going to be hurt when you make that choice.
Right.
But you build that choice muscle into your day and you start to ask that question, do I want to do it? And just become aware. Start to reconnect. Stop abandoning yourself. It's okay. If other people go wacky and they're out of control, that's other people's responsibility. It's not yours.
Right.
And so you start to ask, is this what I want to do? And when people make requests, you start to delay. Okay. So let me think about that and get back to you. So you get away from the automatic, yes, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
to just delaying. And so, and then all of this discomfort's likely to come up, like, oh, what are they thinking? Oh, they're thinking I'm selfish. Oh, all this self-talk,
Mm-hmm.
and start to look at that self-talk. And I mean, you can do the cognitive behavioral stuff, which is, how true is this? Are they really going to die if I don't do this for them? Are they really going to be stressed? Because often along this, we catastrophize
Mm-hmm.
that the
Yes.
worst possible outcome is going to happen if I don't engage in this protective behavior.
Yeah.
So really starting to challenge that thinking. And so those are some of the things that you can do on your own, is start to say no.
Mm-hmm.
And no is a full sentence.
Yes. Yes, it is. Thank you for pointing
right?
that out. Yes.
And you don't, and the other thing that we tend to do when we're breaking that pattern of caretaking or codependency, if you want to call it that, is we want to over explain why we're not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I had a client needing to set a boundary with family because they're contacting her and it's really stressing them out. And for her recovery right now, it's not healthy for her to be engaging. Mm-hmm. So she's like, I know that I'm going to send an email that explains so much. So help me figure out what to say. So we came up with a 2-sentence email. Nice. And I can't, just for confidentiality, I'm not going to tell you the email, but it was basically, I'm in recovery. I'm seeing a therapist. I'm taking a time out. I'll connect with you. Love mm-hmm. you. Right?
Awesome.
Kind, awesome. Direct, clear. Yeah. There's nothing to, because when you get into the over explaining, then people can argue with you.
Yeah. Yep.
And then you're arguing about like 1945, which is totally irrelevant from the request or what's happening today.
Right.
And so bring it into today. Right? Yeah. Keep it simple. No is a full sentence.
Right. I found that, I didn't find that, how do I want to put this? It's not that wasn't presented to me when I was in early recovery and therapy myself, but it really hit home for me what you're talking about when I was working with a company that did intense personal development coaching. And mm-hmm. I discovered through trial and error that if I said anything beyond no, that gave them an access to break down my no. And so that's when I just started going, no, that doesn't work for me right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there's no opening in that, Gail. There's nowhere that I can attack your veneer and go,
but if you loved me more, like you'd do clear. This.
Yeah, right? Whereas you get into like, I can't do it because I don't have time. Or then I can like, what do you mean you don't have time? Yeah. Well, you waste so much time, Gail, blah, 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 blah. And we get all of these bloody change back messages.
Mm-hmm. And how can we fix that so I can have what I want? And, you'll give it to mm-hmm. me. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I know that we really don't have a whole lot of power to change anyone else. And you just talked about your client that has a family that loves her. I'm assuming it's a her, a they mm-hmm. then, reaching out going, what's going on with you? We want to know that you're okay. And her going, I can't deal with all of this right now. Right? Mm-hmm. I just want to deal with this little part. But what are some of the things that we can do that can shift how other people relate to us when we're going through this shift in, standing for ourselves?
Well, I think it's finding the people in your lives that are supportive of what you're doing so that you have a reality check. And whether that's a therapist like myself, or whether that's a good friend that actually has self-awareness of their own patterns that aren't mm-hmm. going to trigger into yours. Just having that chance to just sort of go, oh my God, I feel like I'm going crazy. Here's the messaging I'm getting, and just have a way to talk it through. Journal, get it out. So if you want to send I'm just editing my words here. Just give me a second. I'll be with you. One of those don't bother me messages. That's a good way of putting it. Do the raw one in a journal that's never sent. Don't send the letter, right?
Yeah.
And just let it rip and say in that journal everything you really, truly want to say and get it off your chest.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Then acknowledge how you're feeling.
Okay.
Pay attention to yourself. What does that feel like in your body? It's probably going to be scary if you're breaking the pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Notice that's normal. And then go, okay, what do I need right now? So maybe you need your favorite cup of tea. Maybe you need to go for a walk. Maybe you need to talk to your supportive friend. Maybe you need to read a book,
Mm-hmm.
pet your dog, whatever it is. Like, start to ask, what do I need? Start to be really present with yourself.
Yeah.
And that's really going to help. Because
And
if you've abandoned yourself and you've been taught to, it's like changing that muscle, and it's going to feel like you're incredibly selfish. But it's better being selfish than being selfless,
oh, oh, I love that. That's brilliant. You're
right?
absolutely correct. Absolutely. Now, for those of us that, when we start to ask ourselves, what do I need? And the first thing that comes to mind is I need a chocolate hot fudge sundae on top of a brownie, or I need a glass of wine, or I need to go out and gorge myself at a buffet, or whatever it is you're numbing out of choice. What do you say to that?
Well, as if you're numbing out, you're not giving yourself what you need. You're going back into abandoning yourself, right? So it's hard sometimes to feel those emotions. It's really scary. Many people that I see very early on don't even know how to name their emotions because they've never been taught. I certainly wasn't taught in the home I grew up in. I grew up thinking I had guilt and fear. Those were my two emotions. Pick one.
Right.
50-50 chance, right? And I had to learn when I was in my own therapy in my 20s what emotions were. And I had to learn how to pay attention to my body and be able to say, I'm feeling frightened, I'm feeling frustrated, I'm feeling happy.
Yeah.
All of that, because there's such a range of emotions. So it's when we can start to say, this is what I'm feeling, and recognize it's perfect,
Yeah. Now,
right?
yes, absolutely. I'm thinking about family of origin stuff, and you pointed out that it's really, really good to have people in your life that you can go to and go, this is what's going on in my head. Real or not, this is what I'm dealing with. Can I just talk to you about it, right? That are going to be supportive and stuff. And those people are supportive friends and, professionals that know how to properly support somebody in this phase of your recovery. What do you say about family? Because over here, I'm thinking, it's the same kind of, I don't want to call it a cesspool, but it's a bacterial pool, basically, that, you're all dealing with the same bacteria, and kind of like crabs in a bucket. Are family the best to go to for support, or are they going to drag you back into what caused the problem in the first place?
There's things that, like, there's weird things out there, Gail, called like family members who are in their own recovery.
Where?
Yeah, they
No.
happen from time to time.
No.
Um, so you might have somebody that's done their own work in the family who
Oh my
are great people to reach out to,
God.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Sorry for the sarcasm, but that's how I roll. And so it may not be in your immediate family, but it might be a cousin, it might be an aunt, it might be an uncle, somebody that's more removed from the family. That family dynamic is what you're calling the cesspool, right? And those dynamics that continue to happen and continue to happen. And so sometimes there are family members, and sometimes family members will just pull you back with those change messages into the craziness, and into that chaos is actually a
Mm-hmm.
better word than
Yeah,
craziness.
yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Um, oh gosh, you brought something to mind and it just flew away on me. Darn it. Um, but yeah, that you make an absolutely great point that there are people. Oh, it was this Facebook meme that I shared the other day, and that feeds right into this, or supports it in a way that says, as you grow older, those people in the family that distance themselves from the family make a lot more sense,
Mm,
you know?
yeah.
So, you're growing up and it's like, oh, well, Uncle Jay never comes to the family events. He's, standoffish. He's better than us, or he thinks he is, or whatever. And you get older and you go, oh, Uncle Jay was taking care of himself. Right?
Yeah.
So those are the good people to reach out to then. Awesome.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
what have you got coming up specifically for people to deal with these particular caretaking or over caretaking issues to help them get a little bit more empowered in their lives?
Well, I've certainly got my practice. So the way that I work is I do, so like with the client, with the 2-year-old self-abandonment, we did a regression with her so that she could go back, understand it, shift the beliefs and bring them forward to today. Awesome. Instant change in behavior. And then on, now my memory's going to go. I think it's the 24th on a Thursday afternoon in March. Maybe it's the 25th.
The 25th.
I'm offering a workshop on boundaries, because boundaries are what need to happen so we can have some space so that we can say, this is what I need, away from being pulled and tugged in every other direction.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. So how can they reach out and get registered for that course in March?
So they can reach out to me on Facebook at OnPurposeTransformations.
Okay.
It's probably the easiest way to just put a little note there, or they can DM me on Facebook. And it's also on Eventbrite.
Excellent. And what's the name of it to search for on Eventbrite?
It's part of the 100 Minutes of Wisdom series.
Nice. Okay.
And it's Find the Power in the No.
Oh, I like that a lot. That is very good title. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so to all of our viewers, I would recommend that you find Sylvia's Facebook and put a note on her Facebook page, kind of thing, her personal profile, and also message her. But if you're not already friends, that'll come up in message requests, and those don't always pop up timely. They're kind of hidden. So, make contact both areas, so make sure that she gets back to you as quickly as possible. Because these are not things that you want to put off, really. I mean, it eats up our lives. And then we look back and go, God, if I hadn't spent so much time trying to make other people happy, maybe I would have had a more happy life myself. It sounds like one of those things that, we don't regret much. We regret the things we didn't do on our deathbed, right? So this taking care of yourself should never be something that you regret. All right, my dear, do you have any final thoughts to send our people on their way with today?
I think my final thought, Gail, would be you are worth the discomfort and the challenge to go through the uncomfortable stuff to come out the other side in a place of choice, and you deserve it. So go for it and do it.
That's awesome. Beautiful, beautiful stuff from a beautiful lady and a beautiful soul. Thank you so much for being here again with us today, Sylvia. It's been a pleasure. And I wish you all the best for this coming year as we start to open up and find our new normal.
Yeah. Thanks, Gail. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. When you open yourself up to actual energy work, makes that recovery progress so much faster. That recovery is possible. You do not have to live as a victim until your last days. You have unbelievable strength, and I know that because you're still here. Do you want to create something completely unrecognizable with your life? I can show you how.